Hello and welcome to the Income Rebellion podcast. First things first, happy 2025. It feels like it has already been at least a year already to me. I feel like we've seen so much over these last few weeks. Now, at the time I'm recording this, it is January 22nd, 2025. We have already seen a lot of chaos happen with TikTok, and who is owning it is the app banned. We also have seen a lot with the Trump administration. Trump was inaugurated on Monday, and there is a lot of fear and frustration and anger and chaos in the air. So I'm going to speak to some of that today, but I also really just want to give you my perspective and my plan on how I see myself surviving these next 4 years and also the rest of my life. The scary part about this period of time is, one, the suppression of free speech that we saw with TikTok being banned in the United States, and two, the overwhelming sense of fear and frustration and anger because of what Trump has already done in his presidency, and it's only been a few days. One thing that feels important to say now is that when people are expecting you to withdraw, to be afraid, to be angry, to really lose your sense of self, to lose your passion, to feel hopeless at its core, that is the time that you really need to buckle down, take a moment to feel whatever feelings that you need to feel. Give yourself a little bit of space and time to process all of the things that are going on. And then the next important phase is taking action. A lot of times in activist spaces, I see people have so many strong feelings and beliefs and frustrations, and we see the work as expressing the emotion instead of seeing the work as actually taking action, of actually making a plan to make our lives better and to make the world a better place. Now, in my business right now, we really focus on how to do that through creative and ethical business design and finding creative and ethical ways to work that honor our well-being, that pay well, that give us everything we need to have a healthy, sustained, and happy life amidst all of this chaos. And this work is radically powerful because of two reasons. One, for us to be able to ever create the world that we need to create, you have to have capacity, and you can't have capacity if you're working in a job that feels unsafe because of the racism, the high expectations, the lack of safety you feel by your employer. You can't have the space to create liberation if your work doesn't pay enough for you to make ends meet, for you to feel comfortable and confident and to not have to worry about financial stress. And this is going to be important because a lot of the policies that Trump is putting in is going to likely cause an increase of a cost of living for people. And that's a real thing that we really need to tackle head on and ideally proactively. And then finally, you have to have fulfillment if you're going to be creating liberation. This is an important piece that's often overlooked because a lot of times people who are seeking to create liberation find fulfillment in helping others, in doing things for people, outside of ourselves. And that work is beautiful and important. At the same time, that's not the end of the work. Fulfillment begins with you, and it begins with honoring the parts of you that really wants to see something specific in this world, the parts of you that like creating specific things, that like living in a specific way. It begins with honoring yourself, and then you can attach a mission to it, you can attach a cause to it, you can help people once you understand that vehicle and that method, but it all really goes back to you. But because of these pains of work, a lot of times people don't have the capacity to build something that is more powerful, to build a response to the Trump campaign. And that's what we really need people to do now. We need people who are willing to take the time and space to build the alternative so that our lives can feel more liberated, our communities can feel more liberated, and so that we can feel safer and happier and healthier in the world as we move forward. So with that said, the problem and the reason why people get stuck in work environments that feel harmful or hostile is because a lot of times people are oversaturated with narratives and fears that justify staying in a work condition that is ultimately problematic for you. And this is really a capacity issue. I've spoken about capacity in a few other podcast episodes, but if you're feeling all of your learning, all of your times when you're receiving information from the outside world with narratives of fear, of scarcity, of pain, of powerlessness, those different emotional states become your default state. And that's a natural human biological trait. When we see someone else running from a fire, we are then motivated to run from a fire. And that's the energy that we are receiving as we consume different media, as we, plug into our different news sources in the world. At the same time, plugging into this is ineffective when there's no tangible action you are pairing with your panic. And I think that people aren't taking as much action on an individual level because people don't really know what actions to take, and because fear can be such a saturating, overstimulating experience, people don't really have the capacity to take real, meaningful action. So the first thing I'm going to have you do is just make a commitment to yourself to unplug more, to take your attention away from all of this stuff that's happening in the world, to focus on slower forms of media, more intentionally crafted, blog posts, newsletters, to focus on slow form content like podcasts, YouTube videos, but really anything that can allow you to have some space to digest the information that you're consuming instead of just taking quick piece of content after quick piece of content after quick piece of content. And this is something that I see as so powerful that I'm actually changing my business strategy to be more slow content because I don't want people to just look at a TikTok video or look at a blue sky message that I send and then keep scrolling and keep, consuming more and more and more and more and more. I really want to create content and work that stays with people, that you can take with you, that you can bring into conversations with your families and friends. And that does take more work for me. That's the reason why I did not start my business with that as a central pillar of my platform. But it's become so important to me because I think it's important for us to all, as a collective, say, I'm not going to go through this next chapter of my life distracted by social media, dissociating from the world around me and the world that I live. I'm going to take the time and space to really plug in when I have the capacity and when it's meaningful for me, so that I can then carry that wisdom, carry that lesson, carry that learning into the world in a way that is lasting. We're going for more quality instead of quantity. Now, once you already have your attention back, it's really important to recognize this dynamic that we're in. It's not just this idea of being oversaturated and overstimulated. It's the idea that we are still going into work every day. We're still consuming all of these negative things that are happening and keeping the same routines and the same rhythms like nothing has changed. And this is the dangerous piece, because the world is changing around you. The way that your work is being conducted is changing around you. We've seen a lot of announcements this week about Trump eliminating DEI practices and pushing for the federal government to bring all employees back into work. And we're also seeing companies and nonprofits do the same. We're having people care a little bit less about DEI and a little bit less about your ability to be free and work from remotely and have flexibility in your work environments, and more of a need for control, more of a need for the traditional ways that people need to perform in professional environments. This is not going to work for everyone. This may not work for you. And for me, now I'm speaking as someone who is Black, as someone who is queer, as someone who is, femme, it's hard being in an office setting, especially when you believe that office isn't a safe space, when you believe that there is racism or power imbalances that make showing up to work a place where you can't be your authentic self. And I know not everyone believes that authenticity is important in work, but what I will say is that if you're unable to be authentic, you're unable to reach your creative potential, and that's not okay for a lot of people. So it's important for you to be able to recognize if you are someone who is at risk right now because of all of the political climate shifts in your job. And even if you're not at risk, maybe you just are at a place professionally where you want more fulfillment in the work that you do. You want to know the legacy that you're leaving behind you. You want to have a lasting impact on people that you can see on a day-to-day basis. Maybe you want to be able to create and have your art in the hands of people around the world. And maybe you have so many ideas and you want to be able to create them and make them a reality in your life each and every day. And now is a really great time to begin exploring that and playing with that. Now, there are two things that everyone needs to have resilience in the face of political turmoil. And I see Trump's presidency as that. I see this as an opportunity for us to really begin to lock in and create these systems and structures, because I don't think that people would necessarily prioritize doing that if they felt safe in a different political climate. Now is the time for us to get on the same page on the world that we are creating as a collective. And I think that we've seen the Democratic Party become more and more conservative over these last few years. We have seen the Republican Party just blatantly ripping away many, many rights. And neither of these groups are invested in advocating for us as people. No one is really looking out for our well-being, for what we need each and every day. And so we have to begin to build that resiliency into our lives. And there are two ways that we can do this. I see the key to successful resiliency in any political climate as one, having strong community, and two, economic sovereignty. So first, a little bit on what I mean by strong community. Strong community is your neighborhood community, so the people that you can rely on in your immediate vicinity if there is any type of emergency. Maybe you followed the coverage of the wildfires in California recently, but the neighborhoods there were some neighborhoods that were able to completely defend themselves from the fire because they have been training and preparing and they were ready when the fire hit their neighborhood. So it's important for us to be able to have people around us that have a common interest in making sure that you are safe and that your environment is physically safe. If you don't know your neighbors, have dinner with them once a month, once every other month. Whatever is reasonable and easy to maintain for you, that is crucial, but make sure that people in your immediate vicinity are a part of your life. The second layer of neighborhood community are people who are not in your physical vicinity, but who still do care deeply about you. These are kind of like your satellite people, and these can be friends or acquaintances, people that you may not live close to, but who have a deep impact and investment in you as a human, and who want to make sure that you are well. So these relationships are going to be really, really crucial as we move forward, because these are going to essentially be our safety net. If there are any things that are unsafe, if there are any pieces of uncertainty in the world around us, these are the people that we can rely on and really have in our lives through thick and thin. The second group of community is the intimate community, and these are the people that you can grow with. Now, intimate community are your best friends. They're the people that you can go to when you make a mistake. These are the people in your life that make you a better person. And these people are so important. Having diversity in your group of intimate community is so important, because what you'll find is that the standards that your closest friends hold you to will just make you a better person overall. It'll make it easier for you to be a part of your neighborhood community when you have people who are in your intimate community that are aligned with your values. So these two groups can really play into each other. As your outer circle grows, your inner circle can grow and shift too, and it can really create a really beautiful feedback loop where you're learning information with the people that you're closest to, and you can bring that into a broader group. Now, the second piece of resiliency during these next 4 years to infinity is this idea of economic sovereignty. And I love this concept. I have started using this concept at the individual level to describe the work that I do, because it's really not traditional business coaching. A lot of traditional business coaching is about, okay, how can we make as much money as possible in the shortest amount of time as possible? And in my business, I tried that type of work out. It does work, it does lead to results, but I found that it was lacking the spirit and the mission of the work that I see myself as bringing into the world. And so I'm really making a concerted effort to go back to my activist roots and to continue to focus on creating powerful work. When most people look at having a business, they see it purely as generating income, and I think that there's nothing wrong with that. You're not going to become Jeff Bezos if you start your business, right? You're not going to become someone who begins to abuse their employees because you start a business. People's moral compass is different than it's not something that's reliant on wealth, and that's something that I believe. I think that good people are good people and bad people are bad people, and usually it's not that binary as good and bad. That's a different conversation for a different time. But in the world, having more money or less money doesn't make you a better or worse person. It's more about your character, and I actually believe that having economic safety to some degree is going to be crucial for everyone, which is why my mission right now is to just make sure that as many people as possible have the skill sets and tools to start their own business if that's something that they would like to do. And that's the reason why I have a liberated business guide that's for free that you can download in the show notes. But I just think that everyone should know the start to finish tips and supports and steps that you can take so that you can actually be free economically from any institution that you're in. But before I go too far into this, let's talk about what economic sovereignty means. So traditionally, economic sovereignty means it's basically a country's ability to independently make decisions and policies regarding its economic affairs without undue external influence or control. And this basically means it's a country's right to manage its own resources, trade, and have financial systems that are in alignment with their own, priorities, domestic goals, and development goals. And this basically is used to describe countries and nations, and it can be a very heady term, but I actually see it as being directly relevant to individuals, particularly when the government that you are in doesn't really match your values. And since we are currently in the middle of a fascist oligarchy that does not have anyone's best interest at heart unless you have a financial stake in the game, it's important for you to be able to financially access and maintain the well-being that you need and ideally want. And so this is a really big part of the business creation that I have. I think that is a core component and reason why many people go into entrepreneurship. And having a successful business, being able to create financial solvency for yourself and your family is the first wave of change that everyone needs to be able to have in their lives. And I mean being able to access finances without compromising your well-being, because we are taught as a culture that well-being is the first thing to go as soon as you need to have food on the table. And so it's important to just be very, very clear, because your financial well-being is directly related to your freedom. And if you are in a precarious financial situation, if you don't feel like you can make money without compromising key values, if you feel like you're at risk because of your identity at work, then that means that you inherently do not have the same ability to be free. So this is a very base level. This is why I, again, have a free book. It's also going to be an audiobook so that people can learn these skills on their own. This is also why I take a few students every now and then to go through an A to Z business curriculum with you, so that I can be in that process of growth and learning and creating a business with you. The important thing to acknowledge here too is that I see all, financial assets as values aligned income streams. And these are pieces of wealth that grow with you in time, that improve with you in time. You can use my definition of anything that makes or saves you $25K a year if you like, but I really want you to consider thinking about this in terms of the work that you do, the labor that you create, the businesses that you have, and also in a lens of growing your own food and saving some money. Being able to rely on yourself to provide food on your table is key. This can also mean knowing how to fix your own car. So if there's something that goes wrong, you have the tools, the equipment, the know-how to fix something without having to rely on another person. These things, while they may just seem like skill building or like hobbies or like fun little tidbits, I think they're going to become more and more important, especially as our quality of life and our ability to afford the world around us shifts and changes in time. Again, this does not mean you do not need a business and income stream that you can control. This is a both and situation. So really, really, really focus on having both of these things in your toolbox so that you can have greater freedom, greater flexibility. And so one thing that I will say is that I am like the only business or career coach I know who uses this approach to really focus on combining your ideas for liberation, your ideas of ethics, and who you are as a human into the business that you want to create. And to do this in a way that honors your well-being, but that's also aware that you making your own business is an act of self-care. It's an act of self-expression, and it's an assertion of freedom from the government, from the world around you. And it's important to really, really, really know that because a lot of business and career coaches are just focused on survival, when the narrative, if there's anything that you take from my work that I hope to shift, is to, instead of being in the space of fear and survival, to instead focus on what you're creating instead, and to make decisions, to take action, and to build supports for yourself so that that can be the case. And so this is what we're going to be doing in the Rebellion Year program. If you get the free Liberated Business Guide, I'm going to tell you all about the program. But for now, what I'll say is that it's going to be a small group container for business owners or aspiring business owners. Usually people who I work with who are starting their business start from absolutely zero. And I wanted to begin to bring this into a group environment so that we can really build a business over a longer period of time together. You can have group accountability and relationships with other people as you grow. And I also keep the group really tiny so that I can make sure I'm helping you build the best business that you can possibly create, so that I can work with you through limiting beliefs and logistic hurdles that can make getting started really challenging. I have learned so much in my own business creation journey, and I would love to just get those tools into as many people's hands as possible and to eliminate all of the issues I had for as many people as possible. And also so that we can really grow this work to support your livelihood and beyond. So again, this work is for a legacy. If you had to deal with racism, there's nothing more powerful than having your own business that you can give your kids so that they don't have to experience racism at work too. So these are all really powerful tools. They don't have to end with you, that you're going to take them with you for the rest of your life. And this cohort's going to be launching next month in February. So be sure to grab the Liberated Career Guide book in the bio, in the description of this episode, to make sure you do not miss out. Now, if you enjoy the Income Rebellion podcast, it means the world to me when you leave a review. So please log into your app, give us that 5-star review. I really appreciate it. It really lets me know that you care, and it means a lot to me. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye.